welcome to the Picnic Centre this morning. I wasn't sure many people would come out in the rain. It was pretty dreadful when I arrived earlier on, so it's great to see you all and thank you for being here. Today we're not expecting any fire alarms or anything to go wrong, so if you hear the fire alarm, please make your way to the nearest exit, which is probably behind you. And no, I don't work for Lumineer, but the exit is probably behind you. We've got no lights in either. Anyway, so my name is Gillian Skuse and I work for Age Scotland Orkney, and I will be hosting the event today. So you'll see me at various times popping up and down and introducing our speakers, which I'm sure you're going to enjoy all of their presentations. The first person today is Stephen Brown. He is the Chief Officer for Orkney Health and Care, and I'll pass over to him now to come and talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, folks, for coming out today. As Gillian says, not a great day for the weather. In actual fact, just last week we had a screening in here for the film The Low Road, which was on the issue of mental health and well-being, and specifically suicide. And it was a really good turnout, and then the electricity went off, and literally 2 minutes before. Hopefully we will have a more successful day today, because everybody had to go home in the dark last week without seeing the movie. Thanks very much for coming out. This is the second time that Orkney Health and Care has organised a carers conference. Some of you may have attended the last time we met, and indeed, believe it or not, and maybe shockingly, Orkney Health and Care were the first health and social care partnership in the whole country to organise a carers conference. I say shockingly because we absolutely recognise the role that carers play in the lives of those they love. What we have found over the last number of years is that people are living longer, which is a good thing, because in many ways we sometimes hear the phrase in health and social care, well, it's the ageing population and it's the demands that they place on society, their loved ones, and it almost sounds as though this is not a good thing. Of course it's a good thing that people are living longer. The problem is that as people get older, what tends to happen is that they become frailer. Some people are living with dementia, and it does put pressures on not only them, in terms of coming to terms with all of that, but also their family and their loved ones. Believe it or not, about 80% of all care provided in the UK is delivered by older people, supporting their spouses, supporting their families. What we've also found with the medical advancements that have been made is that children are surviving childbirth at rates never before seen, which is also a really good thing. Again, for some of those young people, however, were born with significant disabilities and will require support not only from their families, their parents, throughout their lives in many instances, but from society as a whole, in terms of how do we support, how do we wrap around, how do we make sure that people remain safe, how do we make sure that people continue to be loved and nurtured throughout their lives. So what all of that means is that for many of us in this room, we find ourselves assuming caring responsibilities. Now, we use the term unpaid carers at times to differentiate between those who are paid to care, whether that's in a care home, care at home, third sector organisation, or to differentiate between those individuals and those who care in terms of providing informal supports. Whether that's your spouse, your mum, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbour, your friend, whoever it is. Because first and foremost, we are sons, daughters, spouses, nieces, nephews. We are those individuals before we're ever unpaid carers. Now, part of the problem is that because of that, we often don't even recognise that we are carers in that sense, because we step in, we do what we need to do, we work with our loved ones to support them as best we can. And what happens at times is that catches up with you, because every single individual has a number of competing demands. We're trying to juggle life, we're trying to juggle love, we're trying to juggle a whole number of things, family responsibilities, and at the same time we're trying to juggle the caring responsibilities that we have. And ever so slowly that can creep up on people. We also have young people who assume caring responsibilities for their parents, and again probably don't recognise that. Their parents or their loved ones, their siblings, stepping in to provide day-to-day care responsibilities without even realising that they're doing it in many instances. So we have made calls many times through a number of our organisations for people to come forward, let us know about your caring responsibilities, identify as a carer in this situation, and we will do whatever we possibly can to support you. Now the challenge in providing that support, here in Orkney right now, we have seen over the last 10 years a reduction in the working age population by 3.5%. Now that might not seem a lot, but it's really significant, because public health figures tell us that by 2037, which is only 12 years away, how scary is that? By 2037, 50% of the population of Orkney will be over the age of 65. 50%. And it begs the question, who's left to look after older people? Because the working age population just continues to shrink. And unless something radical changes, that will become ever more difficult. Now that's the Orkney position, but actually it's been experienced across the country. Because if we continue to try and build, we'll put in another 100 care at home staff, we'll build more care homes and we'll staff them for residential respite facilities. Where do we get the staff to do that? And that's one of the big challenges from an Orkney health and care perspective. So unless there's some radical changes in terms of how Orkney as a community works and operates, we will really struggle. So there are a number of things within the council, and I'm delighted to see a number of local councillors in the hall today as well, but there are a number of things that the council are paying particular attention to. So things like, where are there economic development opportunities for inward migration? How can we create new jobs, whether that be in renewables, whether it be in marine services, whether it be, where can we create job opportunities to bring people here with their families, with their spouses, to help service not only health and social care, but actually our retail industry, our service industry, our agriculture, all of these elements that need to keep Orkney afloat. So that's one part. The other part that the council is currently looking at is housing situation, because you can create all of these jobs, but if there's nowhere for people to come and live, then it becomes meaningless. So those are two things that are really, really critical. And they're critical because if we don't increase the working age population, there is going to come a point where there are not enough of us, either informally or formally through paid employment, to care for the most vulnerable in our communities. Now the message today is for many of you who are here who do have those caring responsibilities. The message is, we know it's hard, because this is not a them and us. There's not a health and social care partnership who looks at carers and thinks, yeah, we recognise that's really hard, because almost every single one of us will at some point in our lives assume that informal caring role to some degree or other. will have a loved one who is end of life. We will have a loved one who has dementia. We will have a sibling who's born with a disability. All of us will have that at some point in our lives. And when it does happen, of course we step into the breach, because that's what we do. We are generally a very caring species as humans. We care for one another, we look out for one another, and we get on with it. But that bit about getting on with it, there are times when you'll be getting on with it and it'll be having an impact on you as a carer. You might not recognise it at first, but you'll find yourself going to bed earlier because you're knackered. You'll find yourself really at any point in the day doing something else and thinking about your loved one, and I should really be with them as opposed to in Tesco doing the shop. These are the things that start to creep up. And I cannot underestimate the need at times to reach out for help. And what does that help look like? And to be honest, it will vary depending on who you are, what you like doing, your own resilience. It will depend on a whole number of factors. And that support that you can get, sometimes it can actually just be talking to another loved one who's also providing care. Sometimes it can be talking to a neighbour or a friend, just getting a break. 15 minutes with a cup of coffee and a chat can sometimes be all it takes to keep going. Sometimes it takes a wee bit more than that. Respite is undoubtedly one of those areas that we do not do enough on. I absolutely understand that. And we need to think about ways of how do we take an approach to respite just to give full-time carers in particular a bit of a break. Because if we can build that on a regular basis, that can be enough to sustain carers to continue in their caring role. Now that question, how supported are you to continue in your caring role, sounds a really simple question. And on the one hand, I could walk away today and say, do you know in Orkney, we have a higher proportion, the second highest proportion of carers who tell us that they feel supported to continue in their caring role, second highest in the country. That sounds really good. We should take pride in that, you would think. But actually we can't. Because although we're the second highest in the country, that figure sits at 39%. 39% of carers feel supported to continue in their caring role, and that's the second best in the country, which gives you an indication of just how difficult it can be. So, first of all today is an opportunity to allow people, hopefully, a chance to get together, to talk to one another, to talk to people in this room about whether they're from the Orkney Health and Care, whether they're elected members, whether they're staff working in third sector organisations. What more can we do? What are the bits that are missing? What are the bits that frustrate you? Some of it we'll know, and some of it we absolutely will do all we can, but can't promise anything because it's really challenging. The good thing is that Scottish Government have now enshrined in legislation the right to breaks for carers, which again I don't think anybody would argue with. The challenge at the moment is how do we make those breaks available? How do we build them in to support plans, not only for those that we're supporting, but for their carers? And how do we do that at a time where budgets are finite, where there is no new money coming from Scottish Government to fund this? So that brings in a real challenge. And whilst health and care can step in and do things, we are limited in terms of the number of staff that we have, the number of resources that we have, and we need to make the most of those And we also need to work with one another in our communities. Because the one thing about Orkney as a community is that it works together in a way, and it looks after one another in a way that you rarely see anywhere else. So when I arrived in Orkney from Glasgow 4 years ago, I was in my kitchen and I looked out the window and there was a stranger cutting my grass. I thought, who's that guy? Because that just would not happen in Glasgow. Who's that guy cutting my grass? And as it turned out, it was my neighbour. He's got a petrol mower, and what he does every summer is he comes out and cuts his own grass. And then he obviously decides, I've got the mower out anyway, I'll do my next door neighbours. And then he goes to the woman next door to them as well, to us as well. And he's done it ever since I got there. I shamefully have never cut my own grass once since I arrived in Orkney. I am not a gardener, so I am delighted by that. And what I do in return is at Christmas and New Year and even Easter time, I don't really celebrate Easter, but just because it's the time that he gets a crate of beer or he gets, and it works really well because people work together. Now that's just a very small example that's very unique to me, I get that. Anybody else have their neighbours cut their grass? No, I am extremely lucky and privileged there. Oh, there's somebody up the back there. Oh, there's a few hands get up. Maybe this isn't an Orkney thing. But to me, that immediately stood out for me in the first couple of weeks of getting here about how, as a community, we work differently. There are people in Glasgow who live on top of one another and don't know their neighbours' names. I know the names of the neighbours, I know their sons, their daughters, I know, and in a way that I probably don't in Glasgow, and that's the same in a lot of other areas. Now, what that means is that actually we have real potential here to be looking after one another in a way that doesn't happen anywhere else, and it does happen. Voluntary Action Orkney, who oversee community groups and third sector organisations, at last count had 897 organisations registered with them in Orkney. That means in Orkney there is a community group or an organisation for every 22 people. That includes babies and goodness knows what else. For every 22 people there's an organisation out there. Now that tells you the activity that goes on in this community. Now the final thing I'll say on this, I went to Wigan a few years ago because Wigan had recognised some of the challenges that they were facing. You know, they had the council, they had the NHS, they had various others trying to support communities. And that's important, that's what you pay your council tax for. But what they recognised was that the communities and the needs of those communities was so great that even if they grew their workforce by 50%, they still weren't going to be able to support everyone. So they took a view that we needed to work with NHS and council and all the expertise and the professionalisms, the third sector organisations that support all of that. We need to absolutely maximise that. But we need to see what else is in the community that can support people too. And they got social workers who assess people's needs to think a wee bit differently. So when I went to Wigan to find out what they had done, they told me a story. And they said that in the old world, when social workers went out and assessed people's needs in a particular way, there was a phone call coming into a social work team on a Friday afternoon. And it was from a woman who was in great distress. And she said to the duty social worker, it's always a Friday afternoon, these things happen, I can't cope anymore. You need to come, you need to take him away. I just can't do it. Now it turned out that the woman's husband had early onset dementia. He was only in his 50s. And she had got to the end of her tether and thought, Friday afternoon, I can't can't do this anymore. I've got a whole weekend of this, and I just can't do it. So the social worker in the old world would have gone out and is likely to have said to her, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put in a wee bit of care at home from tomorrow morning to support you, and we'll do a referral through to day services. Because in some instances, social workers have a menu of these are the things that we can give you, and that's probably what's going to best meet your needs. That's what would have happened in the old world of thinking. In the new world, what actually happened was the social worker went out, got her jacket on the Friday afternoon, went out, sat down with the man and his wife, and said, I know you're really stressed, I know that you're demanding that we do something right now, but before we do that, can we have a cup of coffee? Social workers like their coffee. So they did have a cup of coffee, and she said to them, look, I absolutely get this is a really difficult day, you're having a really hard time, but tell me what a good day looks like. When is this okay? Now, I think the woman and her husband probably struggled to really describe that, but what it did do was open up a conversation. This gentleman, from the age of 19, had gone running every day in life. That's what he did. That was his thing. He went jogging. Right. Now I should say, if anybody ever sees me running through the streets of Kirkwall, come to my assistance, because I'm not doing it for fun. Right. I am clearly being chased. But that's what he did. That's what he loved. But what was happening was, as his dementia began to take effect, he was going running, he was forgetting where he was, forgetting where he lived, and failing to come home. And his wife regularly had to phone the police and say, I've lost my husband, he's not come back. And what happened was, one night, exactly that, he'd gone missing, and the police came to her door and said, you're going to have to stop him running. They brought him back, he was safe. They said to her, you're going to have to stop him running because we cannot do this anymore. Our job is to catch criminals, not to come and look for your husband. So this was the police telling her that. So that's exactly what she did. She put an end to his running, she threw his Nike in the bin, no more running. Now I suspect for all of us in this room, whether you work in the field, whether you're a carer, you could probably guess what happened thereafter. The two of them were living on top of one another. She was getting no break. He was not getting to do the one thing in his life that he really loved. And the pressure cooker that was in that house was just starting to erupt. And it culminated in that Friday afternoon call where she was saying, take him away, I can't cope with this anymore. So the social worker said, leave it with me, I will see what we can do. And they went and spoke to what was called a community link worker. Now we have community link workers in Orkney, and their job is to know what's going on in that community centre, what's happening in that church hall, what is that third sector organisation organising this week. And as it transpired, there was a young man, he lived 3 doors away from this couple. And do you know the good thing? He went jogging every day. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll come, I'll pick your husband up, we'll go running together, and I'll bring him back safely. And that's exactly what happened. She was raging, she had to buy a new pair of Nike. But it worked. And it gave her just a wee bit of time in the evening to get a bit of a break, and it allowed her husband to continue to manage a bit of normality in his life. Even though at some point down the line, he would need more support than that, as would she, for a wee bit longer that we're able to maintain a bit of normalcy. Didn't need care at home at that point, didn't need day services at that point. And that's what communities do. There are loads of examples of that across the country. It's just that sometimes people need a wee bit of support to identify where those things are. So we need to maximise the skills, the assets, the kindness, the compassion that exists in our communities to work together to care for those who need it most. Whether we're a direct relative, whether we're a spouse, whether we're a neighbour, these are things that we need to think about in more creative ways. There's loads of creativity in Orkney. We need to tap into that as much as we can. There's loads of community spirit in a way that doesn't exist in other parts of the country, believe me. And we need to work on that. None of us should feel as though we're in this alone. And those are some of the messages that I'm hoping that people will take away today. None of us are in this alone. And whilst there are constraints in us all about what we can and can't do, whether we're an individual carer, whether we're an organisation, we are limited in what we can do. But together with those types of discussions and that type of creativity, we can hopefully make sure that people are loved, cared for, supported, to live as independently as possible, but making sure that that safety net is there for them. Because that's what we're all here to do. So listen, thank you very much for listening. I understand that the next speaker is Councillor King. Councillor King is currently the Vice Chair of the Integration Joint Board, and I know probably better than anyone one of the greatest advocates for carers on that board, and indeed in the council chamber. I'm sure some of our colleagues in the room today would recognise that too. So I'm delighted to introduce Councillor King. Before I do that, just to say there's been a slight change to the agenda later on. Linda Bradford, our Head of Health and Community Care, will be on the question and answer panel later on today, alongside Sheila and Rachel, and absolutely really keen to hear what the experience is feeling like just now, what more we can do if at all possible. It'll be really important that you get the opportunity to ask questions, have discussions, because none of us have all the answers to this. So thanks again, and I'll pass you over to Rachel King. Thanks.
Right, good morning everyone. I'll just add that it's almost impossible to follow Stephen when he speaks, because he just holds it all, it just comes, it just flows. So this next bit is going to be slightly stilted in comparison, I accept that. But I'd just like to say thank you very much and welcome to everyone this morning. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, as it was at the last conference, and I will look forward to the next one after that. But unlike Stephen, I do write some notes, so I will read from those notes. But some of the things that Stephen covered may be repeated in what I say. I don't think that's a problem, just because it underlines the importance and the shared message that we're trying to get across. So, so bear with us. Okay, so I'm just going to start off by admitting honestly to everyone here that I am not a natural public speaker. I've always preferred to speak with people rather than to people. And communication for me is about listening as well as about sharing. But what I've learned is that if I speak on behalf of others, I can find a voice. When the subject is something that I too share a passion about and have the support of others, that voice can travel far and wide. The subject of this conference is one that I believe every single person in this room shares a passion for. And I would like to explain how what you say and what you share today, how your voice travels, and that what you say matters. Over the past 10 years, both locally and nationally, I have witnessed the voice of carers grow and their needs increasingly becoming embedded in decisions taken both in the community, in the chamber, and in national forums. At community council meetings, parent council meetings, place plan groups, the voice of carers is present when considering the local environment, local services, transport, whether our villages and communities provide a sense of place that can be accessible and enjoyed equally by all. In the chamber, where policies and strategies across education, infrastructure, housing, planning, to name but a few, the needs of carers are now embedded in equality impact assessments so that both members and officers stop and ensure that the impact on carers is considered alongside all protected characteristics. I'm personally hopeful that in the new year, the Council will agree a specific carers policy for staff. As an employer of around 1 in 10 people in Orkney, and if you move to the NHS and other employers, 1 in 5, my hope is that we can lead by example to all employees in Orkney, that the need to provide as much flexibility and support as possible to those with caring responsibilities, no matter where they work, is required now more than ever. On the Integration Joint Board, so we're moving from community to chamber, Integration Joint Board, which is responsible for the planning and commissioning of all community health and social care. Carer and service user representatives are supported to ensure that their voices have an equal contribution to the decisions we take. We also have our third sector representative through Morven from Voluntary Action Orkney, who represents our third sector providers. So that voice carries through the Integration Joint Board. The board consults and assesses the needs of the community every 3 years, publishes a strategic commissioning plan, which both the last plan and the new plan identified support for carers as a priority. This is evidence of the impact that your voice is making. One direct action from this is the appointment of 2 new carer-dedicated staff to promote the carer agenda in Orkney, as well as provide direct support to carers in the community. So moving on from local chamber integration board, I move into the national. So as the local authority representative to the Council of Scottish Local Authorities, known as COSLA, I carry your voice to the National Health and Social Care Board to ensure that the island carer voice is heard when considering national policy and direction in collaboration with the Scottish Government. This board also has a designated carer representative, and they have a very strong voice on that board. Most recently, as Stephen touched on, the Care Reform Scotland Bill was passed, and this places new duties on local authorities in relation to support for carers and the continuity of services for people with disabilities. Also at a national level, your voice accompanies me in my role of Chair of the National Chair and Vice Chairs Network and Executive. Along with Chief Officers Stephen Brown and Chief Finance Officers of Integration Joint Boards across the whole of Scotland, we collectively represent the views of Health and Social Care Scotland in meetings with ministers, the Cabinet Secretary and the First Minister for Scotland. So back to today. The reason for taking that journey from local community to chamber, to Integration Joint Board, to Edinburgh, to Scotland-wide, is to demonstrate that what you say matters, that your voice travels far. I and my colleagues would have no voice if it were not for you. But that voice could be louder. As I'm sure you will hear many times today, there are currently around 350 to 400 carers supported in Orkney, but national statistics estimate the number of carers in our islands to be nearer 3,500. Carers UK estimates that carers contribute around £15.9 billion to the Scottish economy. So you have more than earned your right to be heard. I leave a question with you. What more can we do to help people self-identify as carers and reach out for the support that they deserve? Maybe being here today helps that task. I've purposely chosen not to speak about my own lived experience as a carer. As that is personal to me and those whom I love. I've written here, and if I'm honest, I would probably dissolve into tears. Did it anyway. But also because each person's lived experience of being a carer is unique and personal to them. In my personal opinion, as Stephen touched on, every person in this room, every person in every forum, whether local or national, has been, is, or will be a carer. And they will also be someone who is cared for. This is personal to us all. I've consciously chosen to use the term carer today for a reason. And again, Stephen touched on this, so we're just underlining the point, I think, really. There are a growing number of people and organisations who feel uncomfortable with the term unpaid carer. For me personally, I struggle to identify with anything but simply what I did and what I do, to be a carer for those that I love. I feel we really need to differentiate, if we really need to differentiate, between those who are employed as carers and those who are not. I believe that the term carer, with all that this encompasses, should rest with family, friends, neighbours and community. And that together we find another respectful descriptor for our valued staff, one where pay plays no part. These are vocational roles, and money has no place of reference here. I am proud that the conference today is for carers. Finally, you'll be pleased to hear, I am very much looking forward to hearing from all the presenters today, from you as attendees, and I hope we can continue to create opportunities to carry on that conversation together. So I have great pleasure in handing over to colleagues, but also handing over to all of the carers who have taken what I know will be precious time to be here today. This is your conference and our chance, all of us, to listen and learn about the support that is available locally, so that carers are able to take care of themselves and in turn continue to care for those whom they love. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Stephen and to Rachel. I know we're running a little bit over, but don't worry, because we do have some extra time booked in different places through the morning, so we will still keep to the schedule that's on there, maybe just tweak it a little bit. So I'm now delighted to hand over to Sheila Rich, who's the manager from Crossroads, and in turn she will then hand over to other staff within her organisation and some young carers that you can see sitting along the front. So that's great news. Over to you, Sheila. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here and taking part in the second Carers Conference. And thank you for inviting us along as well. Where's the clicker? I am just going to sort of copy what Rachel said and say that I'm not a public speaker.
This is not something that I am familiar with, so I do have notes and I will be reading, so apologies. I am also going to go over some of the same things that Rachel and Stephen have gone over as well, but I don't think it's a bad thing because it just reiterates the importance of why we're all here today. So, I am Sheila Rich, I am the manager at Crossroads Care Orkney. We are a local charity established in 1994 and we work in the third sector. So the aim of our service is to improve the life of carers and those they care for by providing information, emotional support and practical help. We work alongside the Orkney Islands Council, who's the main funder for our respite service, and that is to support carers looking after people of any age, any illness and any disability. We do provide other visits such as personal care for showering and social support for those who don't have a carer. If we can provide this, it can be purchased by the Orkney Islands Council or privately. However, it is important to note that respite is our main remit and has to be our priority. We, as our charitable status, we do receive a lot of donations from the public and other fundraisers. This helps us to provide more support in the community. So it's always put back into the main pot and then to enable us to do more for the community. Our service is also registered with the SSSC and we are regulated by the Care Inspectorate. So I wanted you to meet the team. This is just a very small percentage of the team. This is our office group. So we've got Gemma, who is the assistant manager, Steve, the care coordinator, Claire, who is our finance admin, and Lynn, who is the young carer support worker, and you will see Lynn later on. We've got 25 paid support workers working across the mainland and some of the outer isles. Support workers are fully trained and they complete qualifications and full induction training, they are contracted and 0-hour staff. We're very proud of our staff group. They are dedicated and committed to what they do, and those in the room who have been fortunate enough to come across some of our Crossroads support workers, I hope you will be able to agree with me on that and say that they are very dedicated and committed to what they do. So through Crossroads Care Orkney, we provide a respite scheme, which I've said. And I thought in order to explain a wee bit more about that, it's important to understand what an unpaid carer is and what a short break or respite is. Now this is where I'm probably going to be saying the same things as what Rachel and Stephen have said as well, so please bear with me. An unpaid carer is someone who provides care and support to family members, friends and neighbours. They may live with the person that they care for, they may be able to leave them for a few hours, they may live in a different parish. The care and support provided by the carer can be many things, from popping in each day to check that somebody's had a meal, or providing activities, all activities from daily living. That can include personal care, preparing meals, medication support, helping to make and to attend doctor's appointments, mobility assistance, shopping, maintaining social support, and all household tasks from cleaning to banking. Anybody can become a carer at any time in their lives, and it's estimated that about 3 out of 5 of us will become carers at some point. And it's important to remember that carers can be any age, from young children to older people. As Stephen said, unpaid carers don't recognise themselves as carers because they are doing this out of love, kindness, compassion, and because they feel that it's the right thing to do. The people they care for may be affected by various disabilities, physical and mental ill health, age-related frailty or substance misuse. It's important to remember that the carer as well may also have a variety of health issues. The actual number of unpaid carers living in Scotland, it's not known. However, due to recent research carried out by Carers Scotland, they think that there is around 627,000, saving the economy £15.9 billion a year. We estimate that there is over 3,500 carers in Orkney. However, we only know of a very, very small percentage of that, and currently have 250 unpaid carers registered at Crossroads, so we know that there is more people out there. The risk of unpaid carers not reaching out can lead to isolation, loneliness, carer burnout, financial pressures. It can cause harm to their physical and mental health, such as low self-esteem. Folk can feel a loss of identity, and they may not be able to attend to their own medical appointments because they are focused on dealing with the person that they care for. So we can support you by providing a support worker to look after the person you care for, to give a break. Respite and a short break is what it says on the tin. It is to take a break from caring while the cared for person is looked after. Hopefully, it will enable the unpaid carer to take time out to look after themselves, to remain independent, to feel valued, and to have a sense of their own self, and to provide improved well-being. As part of the respite service, we can also offer advice and emotional support. Some people come in just looking to offload. They feel things is getting heavy, so they come in, have a chat. The kettle is always on. We can listen and offer advice on the various support services that are available. It'll often lead to us being able to refer on to other services on people's behalf as well. As part of the respite service, we will also offer adult carer support plans. So these are previously known as carers assessments. As part of the Carer Scotland Act 2016, this introduced the right for all adult carers to be offered an adult carer support plan. Adult social workers may offer this to some people as well, and we can share that information so that it's avoiding duplication. It's an opportunity to discuss the level of support that's being provided and to help identify any support or services needed to help maintain that caring role. It will look at how caring affects folks' lives, including their physical and mental health, and whether they are able to carry on caring. I am going to have a drink. We also offer our Time to Live microgrant scheme. So this is a pot of money that we get from Shared Care Scotland on behalf of the Scottish Government, which allows us to be able to give unpaid carers some financial assistance towards anything that will enable a break. It's a really nice little addition to the service. It allows us to be really flexible and quite creative. Everything that will enable somebody to have a break can be quite unique to them, so it's really nice to be able to be creative with the unpaid carers. So within Crossroads Care Orkney, we also have, am I on the right slide? Yes, I am. We also have the Carer Centre, and within the Carer Centre we can refer and signpost to lots of other services. I'm just going to reel off some of them here as an example. So we've got social work, we've got community and NHS OTs and physios, Age Scotland, Citizens Advice, Social Security Scotland, Voluntary Action Orkney, Ageing Well Service, Telecare, the Balfour Pharmacy, Care and Repair, Improving the Cancer Journey, Right There, Smoking Cessation, Thaw, and Community Learning Development and Employability, amongst lots of others. We can also source contact details for local businesses as well, for anybody that's interested. Within the Carer Centre we have our lending library. We can provide wheelchairs and rollators for short-term loan. We also have jigsaws and dementia resources. We're very lucky in that we received a donation from Flota, so that has enabled us to be able to purchase a lot of new equipment. What I would say is if anybody is interested in coming in and having a look and seeing what we've got, please do. If you have any ideas or suggestions of what we need to buy, let us know. And if you want to come in, if we don't have it, let us know and we will buy it as well. We also can sell some PPE for people too. On the second Wednesday of every month, we have our carer support group. We usually advertise this on radio, Orkney and on Facebook. All new carers, all existing carers and past carers are more than welcome to come along to that. It's a really good opportunity for people to have discussions, to share experiences. Sometimes folk just want to come in and talk about anything other than what they're living. In the Carer Centre also, we can advocate on behalf of people. We recognise it can be really daunting for unpaid carers to attend meetings regarding their caring role, especially if the person that they're caring for has lots of services involved. So we can accompany people to those meetings, and we can even speak on behalf of the person if they feel unable to do so. So I'm going to introduce you to the Orkney Young Carer Service, which is also managed through Crossroads Care Orkney. As well as Crossroads, the Young Carer Service is funded by Orkney Islands Council. Again, the service receives a lot of donations from the public and other fundraisers, and it enables the service to be able to provide different activities and experiences for the young carers, which in turn builds on their confidence, their skills and their relationships. So what is a young carer? A young carer is a person under the age of 18 who has adult caring responsibilities. According to the Carers Trust in Scotland in 2023, there was approximately 30,000 young carers in Scotland. So a young carer may help care for a brother or a sister, a parent or a grandparent, someone in their house with an illness, disability, alcohol or drug problem. Sometimes they can be caring for more than one person. So some challenges that could potentially affect a young carer. There's a chance that they could miss out on social time with their peers, which can affect their personal development. They may miss out on education and training, so that's missing out on vital topics at school and development opportunities. Despite a young carer's age, young carers are very protective of their situation and they look on their caring role as it being their duty, and they are not aware that they can ask and that they should ask for help. So the support that the Young Carer Service will provide for them is free activities to allow them a break away from their caring role. It's confidential support. So whilst the young carers are often in group activities, they know that they can approach the support worker and that any advice will be treated, any advice or questions that they have will be treated confidentially. There's also the option for one-to-one support for anybody who doesn't feel comfortable in group settings or who may need additional support. The Young Carer Service can also refer on to various other support services if required. As well as adult carer support plans, which I spoke about in a previous slide, young carers are also offered a young carer statement, and that as well came under the Carer Scotland Act 2016. And again, it's an opportunity for them to discuss the level of support that they are providing, and it helps identify the support or services that could be provided to them to enable them to continue with their caring role. So I just want to show you a little video that the young carers made a few years ago. This is Thorfinn's story, and it might explain a wee bit more about what a young carer can face.
Meet Thorfinn, a 12-year-old boy from Orkney, which is an island in the north of Scotland. Thorfinn lives with his dad, Ian, his PD sister, Ingrid, and their pet, bearded dragon, Liza. He enjoys rugby, football, and watching movies.
Thorfinn is also a young carer, which means that he has extra responsibilities at home that you would normally expect to be carried out by an adult.
This is because his dad has a condition called MS, multiple sclerosis,
which affects his mobility and makes him feel very unwell. So Thorfinn helps by caring for his sister, dad, bearded dragon, and helping to keep the household running.
But this isn't a bad thing. Thorfinn is happy to help, and it's just become his daily routine now.
Thorfinn's caring responsibilities can have a number of impacts on him, involving physical health, school, social life, and mental health.
Thorfinn is usually the first one up and the last one to go to bed. He helps with a lot of the household chores, food preparation, and getting his sister ready for school. He is always on the move at home.
After taking Ingrid to school, Thorfinn can sometimes be late for school himself. It's hard to find time to do homework at night, and he regularly checks his phone during school hours to make sure everything is okay at home. Tiredness can sometimes affect his concentration in class.
Sometimes hanging out with friends and going to events can be difficult because of all the responsibilities at home.
It isn't just practical support Thorfinn gives, but also emotional support. He's always there for his family, but all the side effects of caring can have an emotional impact on him too. There can be feelings of isolation, anxiety, and even depression.
It's really important for Thorfinn to think about his own well-being as well as his family's, and he does this by getting support from his local carers group.
It gives him a bit of time to himself away from his caring role and the chance to meet other young carers who understand what he's going through.
He also gets the opportunity to go out on trips and get involved with exciting activities and events that he might have missed out on.
If you have extra responsibilities at home, it's okay to ask for support. There is lots of help out there. Do a search for your local carers group. They're always very friendly and helpful.
Get in touch with them and they'll give you all the information you need.
Hi, I'm Julie. Thanks for watching our animation. If you think you could be a young carer, contact your local carers group. Please comment, like and share, and subscribe for more Fixers videos.
Good wee video. So the next slide is a poem that was written, and I can honestly say I can take no credit for this at all. This was written by the previous manager of Crossroads and read out at the last Carers Conference. But I feel that it delivers quite a powerful message about how Crossroads can support people. So it's the light in the darkness. The days are long and I feel my batteries are getting low. I've lost my spark, I'm tired, but where can I go? Around others I pretend I'm fine, exhausting as it can be. I must be seen as coping, so many folk rely on me. I'm a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a mother. I'm a neighbour, a friend, an uncle, an aunt. I need to charge my batteries but feel that I just can't. Somebody mentioned Crossroads, why not give them a ring? I laughed and said, who, me? That's just no me thing. But the more I thought about it, I decided that maybe I should. And by the end of that phone call, I actually felt good. They listened to my story, put me completely at ease. It was only then I realised I was almost on my knees. I felt kind of silly for no reaching out and seeking help sooner. I hadn't fully realised I was on such a terrible dooner. If you care for others and feel that this could be about you, phone Crossroads Care Orkney and see they can help care for you. So at Crossroads, we do take into account everyone's caring responsibilities, no matter how big or small they may seem. Everybody's story is unique to them and it is so important to them. There are many things that Crossroads can do that don't involve services such as adult social work and children's services. However, each situation is very, very different, and there may be times where we have to involve colleagues within the Health and Social Care Partnership because we are not able to meet the need. But we would always discuss this with you first. We also recognise that it's not easy to take that first steps towards reaching out for help, and often you don't know where to go, and that's where Crossroads can come in. So
I look forward to speaking to some of you later on. Any questions that you have, look forward to hearing from them. We have a table, there is registration forms on it, there's booklets. My colleagues, Gemma and Claire, are here as well with me to answer any questions that you may have as well. So, there is our contact information. I've also provided the phone number for Orkney Islands Council as well, in case anybody needs to contact adult social work or children's services as well. Thank you. That's all from me before I hand you over to Lynn and some of her young carers.
Hello everybody, I'm Lynn. I'm just laughing. I'm not a public speaker either. And a good few years ago when we did this animation, myself and Julie went down to Edinburgh to a Young Carers Conference to present our animation. We're proud of our animation. So I started off doing the talk and I introduced myself. I said, "Hello, I'm Julie, this is Lynn." Julie looked at me and went, no. So I got completely wrong and I got all nervous, but it broke the ice. So. Julie and the group that did that animation did a fab job and we still feel it's relevant today. They're still happy that we use the animation and I use it a lot when I'm at the schools and I do a session with first years to kind of make them aware of what young carers is. And Julie's happy for me to let folk know that although she's a young carer, she went on and did really well and she's a nurse now working in Aberdeen as a staff nurse there. So it's all, the nature of what we're doing can be kind of difficult and sometimes a bit depressing. I think on it's an extra burden, but there's a lot of positives for being young carers too. So, but I will get on with the presentation. I've just got a couple of short things to say and then I'll get the group up and they'll do their bits for us. So, Sheila's kind of explained everything about what the service provides. Just to give you a flavour of what's going on at the moment, I work 2 days a week to support young carers and we currently have 21 young folk on our books. They get support in different ways, mainly the group sessions and sometimes one-to-one. And we split the group into different age groups just to make it easier to work with the different age groups. So we're a primary group and a secondary group. So the secondary group is 15 folk in it at the moment. And we meet once a month and we do different activities, usually for a couple of hours, and it's fun things, maybe go picky and do things, or we arrange crafts, and just really who I think would be good at running an activity for the group and fun things we'd like to do. Young folk can be referred in through referrals through themselves, like parents can fill in referral forms, or the school or other organisations can refer in people that we think might be eligible to get support. So to refer folk in, you would use our website and look on there and there's a referral form and a link and then the referral comes through to me and then I would quickly meet the family and go through the assessment to see if they meet the criteria and then get them started. So I think that's it for everything else has kind of been covered. So I'll get the girls to come up and do their bit and we'll go through the next bit. So up you come up. So we're all just going to say a pretty bit each and then I've got a couple of slides. So Peyton's up first. There we go.
Hi, I'm Peyton. I'm a young carer and help look after my family. This is me and my little brother Lewis in the picture after he cheered me on in the game of rugby. Don't worry, we won. Lewis was born with multiple issues such as heart problems, lung problems and other medical issues. Growing up, Lewis was given a lot more problems such as epilepsy, rare chromosome disorder, PUF60, speech impediment. At home, I help out quite a bit with him. I help by looking out for him when my parents are busy, and I often help others understand what he's saying when he's struggling to communicate. I also help with my other brother who is autistic. autistic and his ADHD.
So next up we've got Ruby.
Hello, I'm Ruby and I've been involved in Young Carers for 7 years now. Over the course of this time, I have done various things, such as going on Radio Orkney to talk about my story, going on summer trips to Westry, and being on the Swan training ship. We also do various arts and crafts, such as pottery, resin coasters, oil painting, fused glass, and needle felling. I've also been taught valuable life skills, such as how to safely work in a kitchen, first aid, and sewing. We also take part in outdoor bowling. Cheers, Mark. Overall, there is always something going on that we can engage in and enjoy as a group. Before I hand over to Leah, I want to thank Lynn for all the amazing support and activities she pulls together for us. Thank you, Lynn.
And here's Leah and her mum and so it's good.
Hi, I'm Leah. I took part in a challenge with my parents to raise money for Orkney Young Carers and the MS Society. We went to the Highland Fling and took part in a giant bungee swing. I raised £400 for the Young Carers. It was really scary climbing up the ladders in the trees. The drop was really high and steep. After the drop, I really enjoyed the swing. The view was really good. Overall, the experience was really good and fun.
Well done. We had great fun doing this prep last Wednesday, the night before the power cut. We were in at Crossroads, so it was good to get together and kind of speak about our stories. And I think the girls even learned what one another's families were doing a bit more. So thanks for listening to us, and we are round about the rest of the day if you want to speak to any of us. So thank you very much.
And it's a lady called Siobhan Robertson from Age Scotland Orkney who's going to deliver that to you now. Thanks very much indeed.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Carers Conference. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Siobhan Robertson and I work in the dementia team at Age Scotland Orkney. I'm here today to talk about the dementia service, about what is available for people locally and nationally, and to talk a little bit about how people can get a diagnosis as well and what support follows on from that. So a quick overview. I work for Age Scotland Orkney, which is an older adults charity, and we are a one-stop shop. So what that means is if you don't know where to go for anything, it doesn't have to be specifically dementia related, any query that you have, come and speak to us. We have a team of very, very skilled people who will be happy to help you. What was apparent from the last dementia strategy was that people didn't know where to come. Things work a little bit differently in Orkney. We're not the same as other health boards, and things are in different places. Makes it a little bit tricky for people to find out where they're trying to go and for what service they're trying to find. We wanted to make it a single point of access for people to be able to get support, and that is why the dementia service sits within Age Scotland Orkney. It means that we're all in one place, and you can find us in the Old Cross Drapery, as it's affectionately known in Orkney. It's 46 Victoria Street, just across from Sullivan's the Chemist. We are not open at the weekends. We're a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday service, but you can call ahead, you can email, and we're happy to have people just turn up on our door in a moment of need. We're happy to help you. We are completely confidential. Anything that you come to us with We want to make sure that you know we want to support you. We want to make sure that your needs are addressed, and that will be done in a safe and prompt fashion as well. So I want to talk a little bit today about the journey to diagnosis and how people can find their way to the appropriate support. For a lot of people, the diagnosis is a tricky journey in Orkney because there is a lot of things that happen prior to a diagnosis that go under the radar. A lot of people talk about dotting, and the symptoms can be apparent for a lot of years before they become troublesome for people. What we suggest is that if you think that there's something not right, go and speak to your GP. It may be that there's something untoward happening, it may be an early sign of dementia, but it can be a lot of other things as well. It can be vitamin deficiencies, medications, it can even be things like anemia, all things that can be treated. If that then is not the case, you will be sent for further testing and eventually you will be got on our doorstep. We run a memory clinic at Age Scotland Orkney with a GPSI called Dr. Andrus. He has a special interest in dementia and he runs the diagnosis clinic there. Once you've got a diagnosis, whether that is dementia or of something else, you will either speak to me right away at the doorstep. I am the dementia support worker for Orkney. If there's further testing to be done, Dr. Andrus will then send you on to wherever that may be. It can be sometimes off the island as well. So what happens after you've had a diagnosis of dementia? It's quite a scary thing for a lot of people, and there's a big stigma around it in Orkney as well. So I deliver post-diagnostic support, and I'm aware that that's a very big and long-worded way of saying I'm here to help you. So the support for dementia is a minimum of 12 months, so I'm there for that initial year to answer any of your questions and to help you to find out what's important for you. The post-diagnostic support looks at different things. It can be about your community support. So, like other people have mentioned, there's loads of things in Orkney for people if you know where to find them. But for a lot of people, they don't know what is there and they don't know where to find it. So part of my role is to help navigate you to the right places at the right time for your needs. We also look at understanding symptoms. So every person with dementia will be different. Every person will have different symptoms and every type of dementia progresses differently. So I'm here to answer your questions, to provide that support, and if I can't answer them, I will then get support from my superiors to be able to help you and to help make sure that you know what's happening to you and so that your loved ones are also supported. There is also a support for family. So post-diagnostic support is developed for the person themselves with dementia. But we're aware that people aren't solo. People come with a package. They come with baggage. They come with families, friends, neighbours, carers, and professionals as well. And this is something that I want to make clear because I know there's a lot of professionals in this room too. Post-diagnostic support can help you as well. So if you know somebody in the community who has dementia and you're struggling to know where to put them, come and speak to me because they may be a shared client and we may be able to help you there too. So following on from post-diagnostic support, it's really quite annoying for me that people don't realise that they can self-refer back to the dementia service. Once that 12 months is finished, I will then I put you out to the community. So some people will self-manage, some people will move on to social care, care at home, sometimes even things like shelter housing. Everybody's different and every role is different. But for a lot of people, they self-manage. But 2 or 3 years down the line, things may change and you've forgotten what I told you 3 years ago. Please, please, please come back and speak to me. I'm happy to help at any stage and I want people to know that that support doesn't just stop after post-diagnostic support is finished. Following on from me, I can only do so much. I have a supervisor called Gillian Kogel, who a lot of people probably have met. She is wonderful and she is a nurse specialist in dementia and she can help with some of the more complex things as well. We also have the GPSI, Dr. Andrus, and he has a network of people who he can refer to from neurology, psychology and psychiatry as well. So there's all of those specialists just at the touch of a button if you know where to find them. I want to touch as well on the Admiral Nurse support because we do have an Admiral Nurse post at Age Scotland Orkney. It is funded by Age Scotland, by OHAC, Orkney Health and Care, by Dementia Friendly Orkney, and Dementia UK as well. There is an online resource that some of you may not have heard about as well, and we call it The Right Decisions. It's run by the NHS and you can find it online, but there's also an app. And within that app there is a specific part about Orkney, and within that it will give you a lot of the resources how to contact things like occupational therapy, like Citizens Advice Bureau, like the Improving the Cancer Journey and Crossroads and Adult Social Work. So if nobody knows about that and they want more information, I'm aware that we're a bit time pressured today. I am upstairs at the Age Scotland table, so please come and speak to me. I'll be happy to help you find it and get it downloaded on your smartphones. And lastly, it's really important for us in the dementia service to know that what we're doing is the right thing for people. Your voices are so important to us. You are the lived experience and we learn from you. I know I've learned a lot from people that I've supported over the last 4 years. I'm very new in this role compared to some of my colleagues as well. But what happens is that people's voices are the people who we need to hear from. It's all fine and well me doing a job, but if it's not doing what people need it to do, then that's not right. So we have a QR code, it should be on the screen behind me. There is also a copy of it on the Age Scotland Orkney table, and we have paper copies as well for anybody who can't access it digitally. So I just want to say thank you all so much for your time today, and if you need me, you'll find me upstairs in the break.
Okay, so moving swiftly on, thank you Siobhan, that was great. We're going to move on now to a bit of a double act that's going to happen now. So we have Cathy Martin from our social work team, and we have Mandy Kirkness, who's the Service Support Manager from Age Scotland Orkney. Cathy will start and then Mandy will take over. And I'll ask them to come up now. Thank you.
I'm Cathy Martin. I am the Service Manager for Adult Social Work, which includes learning disability social work. And some of my responsibilities at the Council are for adults in need of services, adult support and protection, adults who lack capacity, carers, and a range of other things. Anything that you can think of that might see you or your loved one coming through the door of the Council, aged 16 to 100 plus. I have another part to my role, which is as a mental health officer, and I noticed today that we've not really touched on carers for people who have enduring mental health conditions. So I just did want to touch on that at the beginning, that whilst we talk about young carers and we talk about carers for older adults and people with disabilities, there are quite a large proportion of people in Orkney who live with enduring mental health conditions. And that can be anything ranging from depression and anxiety right through to paranoid schizophrenia. In my role as a mental health officer, I'm quite often, more often than not, called out in the middle of the night when people are in crisis. And I see firsthand the impact for family members, for husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, grandparents of living with adults and young adults and children who have enduring mental health conditions. So the Carers Act is also applicable to all of you if you find yourself in that role. It is something that I guess we don't really speak about quite openly. People shy away sometimes from mental health, and when we think about mental health and well-being, we generally think about the more, which are still significant at the more low level, but there are a number of people living in Orkney with diagnosis which will cause those who live with them stress, worry and anxiety. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear for everybody. Before I move on to self-directed support, the other thing I wanted to say is that social worker are a funny breed. I can say that because I've been a social worker for a very long time. People don't generally want social work involved in their life, and why would you? I wouldn't want social work involved in my life. I always say that to people. I would struggle to let a social worker through the door unless I understood why they were there. We far prefer to be able to signpost people to colleagues at Crossroads, Age Scotland Orkney, Voluntary Action Orkney, all the great services that we have in our community. but there is a time when statutory, and that's what we are, we're a statutory service, when we are needed. Unfortunately, and that is unfortunate, because when you need our services, it means that things have genuinely reached a point that other services are no longer able to support you with. From the outset, I need to say that we do, when Stephen Brown was speaking earlier about that different approach that they took in Wigan, we do try to do that. We are all, as everybody has said before me, we're all touched by being a carer in some form. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will undoubtedly happen to you in the future. My dad is a carer for my mum. They don't live in Scotland, they live somewhere else. They've been married for 53 years. My mum is an ex-social worker. She wouldn't recognise herself as a cared for person. She recognises herself as who she is and that she's married to my dad. My dad doesn't recognise himself as a carer. He recognises himself as who he is in his own right, and my mum's husband, and of course a father. When I suggested tentatively to my dad that there could be supports available, not as many as there are in Orkney, I have to say. My parents live in England, and demands for services there are huge. And when I suggested that to my dad, I found it quite difficult not to slip into social work mode and try to be a daughter. And my dad was completely and utterly offended that I had even intimated that he could be a carer, because he said, I love your mum, I married her, we took our vows, we've been married for 53 years, and this is part of life's journey. So we recognise when we come out, and the social workers come out to people's houses and have to do what's called an assessment. We all bring our personal experiences to that, so I kind of want to try and dispel the myth of social workers come out with a briefcase, we bang at the door, we go through a checklist and we leave again. We are human. Most of us have caring responsibilities, and if we don't have them now, we will have them in the future. And we too cry, and we too get up some mornings and think we can't go on with this, and we lose sleep worrying about our families and worried about our loved ones. So we are the same as everybody else. So, self-directed support. This was, and I'll try not to talk about the law in too much detail. The law is quite boring, if I'm honest. It's there because it provides what we would call a framework. It basically is the rules of how we have to practice as social workers, and it places responsibilities on, for example, Orkney Islands Council and what they have to deliver. So I'm not going to go into the law because you'll all be sleeping in about 3 minutes. But there is a piece of legislation, there's an act called the Self-Directed Support Act. This was introduced to give carers and individuals much more control over their life. So the Scottish Government felt that we needed to move away from telling people what you need and this is how we are going to provide it to you, and actually saying to people, this is what we think you need, do you agree with that? And we are going to allocate you money that you can then go and buy the help and support that you need, and get that from people who you want to provide it. So that was really the reason that this Act came into force. It has been in for a little while. As I said up there, it is about control and flexibility for all people. So I'm aware this is a carers conference, but it's also for people who may need services themselves. Self-directed support can be used for that. Now I've forgotten the button.
Right.
It's the arrow, isn't it?
There you go.
There we go. So, actually, I'm talking ahead of my slides, apologies. I'm not as eloquent as Stephen Brown. I don't have notes, but I cannot talk like him. So who's eligible for self-directed support? So everybody, really. Any individual of any age, so we include children in that as well. Any young carers, any, again, I don't particularly like the phrase like Rachel, of unpaid adult carers. But unpaid adult carers is what the legislation tells us, who meet the, and horrible term, local eligibility criteria to receive funded care and support. Now, the Self-Directed Support Piece of Law and the Carers Scotland Act places a responsibility on the council, so in our case, Orkney Islands Council, that we have to tell you what our eligibility criteria is, so that you know what you're being measured against. So that if a social worker comes out to your house and devises an adult carer support plan or a young carer statement, and at the end of it says, this is what we think you would be entitled to, and you don't agree, you feel that you would be entitled to either something different or something more, you need to know how that decision's being made. Is it Mary Smith, the social worker, who's turned up that day and she's in a bit of a bad mood, and she's rushing from appointment to appointment, and she's just done your assessment really quickly and said, no, you're not getting that? Or is there actually something set out that we have to follow? And there is. It's called the National Eligibility Criteria. There is a link to it on the council website, and if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. And what that does is that sets out people's needs under 4 categories. Now, before I tell you the categories, I didn't make them up. I didn't name them, and I didn't put within each category what it would be. But the categories are named as low, moderate, substantial, and critical. Social work generally only get involved if the needs are assessed as substantial or critical. So if you've had somebody come out and talk you through an adult carer support plan or a young carer statement, and the outcome of that is that your needs, again, a word that I didn't choose, that's what's set out in law, your needs are assessed as being low or moderate, then we would be redirecting you, if you hadn't been there already, to our colleagues at Crossroads or Age Scotland Orkney. Third sector organisations can manage to provide support, advice and guidance to people who are assessed as having low and moderate needs. If you have substantial needs, then social work will then become involved. With consent, that's another area. With your consent as the person who is undertaking the caring, but if you want us to become involved with the person you are caring for, we need to have their consent. And if they don't have capacity to consent, you need to have, which I'm sure you all are aware, power of attorney in place or a legal welfare guardianship. We're not in the business of getting involved in people's lives without their consent or knowledge. That's not how we do business. If your needs are assessed as critical, that generally means that social work need to step in right away. Now that could be, as an example, you are caring for your husband, as an example, and it's not safe for him to be on his own, and you suddenly become unwell and are admitted to the Balfour Hospital, and there is nobody around who can step in and provide that care and support to your husband. That would be a critical need. So it's in the here and now today, we need to do something to support that. And the council has legal duties where we have to step in and make sure that we're not leaving anybody at risk of harm. This is probably all in the next slide, sorry. So, what we try to do with substantial is we offer people what's called a self-directed support assessment. Again, not my language that's given to us by the Scottish Government. So if you live with your husband and you would like to have a carer come in and provide some care to him, some people aren't comfortable in delivering personal care to their loved ones. We see that quite a lot when it's adult children caring for their parents. that they just don't feel comfortable with it, or equally the parent doesn't feel comfortable in receiving personal care from their adult child. So if it's that, or if it's that as the person who is undertaking the caring, you feel that you need a break, and the needs are assessed as critical, substantial, we would offer you a self-directed support assessment. What that means, it sounds like a lot of assessments, I know, but what that means is that we would sit down with you, try and figure out what is going on, and try and figure out and support you to understand what you believe would help you to be able to continue your caring role. Because ultimately, I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying nearly everybody would like to remain in their own home for as long as possible. Generally, people don't want to be in a care service, and they want to be in their own home for as long as possible. And sometimes that is only able to happen if they're being cared for by a family member, and perhaps then complemented by a package under self-directed support. So there are 4 options under the self-directed support piece of law. So we would come out, you phoned into social work, or Mandy or Sheila have phoned us and said, we've got this person, we think their needs are substantial, so social work need to get involved. We come out to you, we do our visits, we pull together an adult carer support plan for you, and within that we identify that you really would like someone to come in and shower your husband twice a week, because that is taking you an hour and a half, and you're finding it really difficult, your husband is really resistant to it, and you're getting physically hurt when you're trying to shower him. That's just quite a small example. So we look at that and we think, okay, under self-directed support we have 4 options, which hopefully I'm going to call them up here. We have option 1. Option 1 is called a direct payment, and that means if you meet the eligibility criteria, we can make an application for an amount of money that would enable you to employ your own carer. So you would become an employee. You would advertise, you might already have somebody in mind, there might be a neighbour, there might be someone that's already helping you, and you feel that you might be taking advantage of them a little bit, even though they probably don't feel like that, and that you would like to pay them. So we can look at an option 1. And Mandy's going to come on in when I be quiet and tell you how that works. Option 2, that's slightly different. That is where the person decides which service they would like to provide their care. So they might say, we might come out, talk to you, we do your adult carer support plan, and you say, actually, I need help for the showering my husband twice a week, and I want Age Scotland Orkney to do it. So that's you're identifying which service you would like to do that. That doesn't necessarily mean I should say that Age Scotland Orkney would be able to do it. That's just the service that you have identified that you would prefer. Option 3 is more like the old-fashioned, the council organising the care. In layman's terms, I guess, that we've identified that you need support to shower your husband twice a week, and we're saying, okay, we know Age Scotland Orkney have got a waiting list at the moment, and actually your husband gets a shower on a Saturday and a Sunday and they're closed, so we're going to look to Crossroads, or we're going to use our own care at home service, which is based within the council, which I'm sure you've all heard of. And option 4 is a mix of all the 3 options before it. If you think today that self-directed support might be the way forward for you as someone who cares for someone, or you might know someone who cares for someone, then get in contact with us at the council, and we can do that assessment under the self-directed support piece of legislation. If for some reason your needs don't meet that eligibility criteria, we don't just say that's it, go away. We will then provide you with advice and guidance, and we will signpost you to all the other agencies that are available in Orkney who will be able to help. If you've got a social worker already, and some of you may have social work already involved in your lives, then contact that social worker and ask them, I'd like to talk to you about self-directed support. It's something that isn't really utilised well in Orkney. I think it's quite a complicated piece of law, and I think the thought of becoming an employer, you're already caring for someone, and that can be a full-time job. And I think then the thought of, I've now got to advertise for staff, I'm going to have to interview staff, I'm going to have to do their payroll, I don't understand that, I just want someone to come in and shower my husband twice a week, please. So I understand why people would move away from self-directed support. However, direct payment is ultimately the option that gives you the most control over who you have coming into your home, when they come into your home, and what they do for you. That you have the control over that. There is a tiny piece in the legislation which says in remote and rural communities where there is nothing else that can be done, a direct payment may be paid to a family member. So if you are caring for your husband, or if your son is caring for your husband, as an example, there is that little piece in the law that allows us to look at whether we could give a direct payment to a member of the family. When we are not allowed to do that, is if that person is also their financial guardian. We're unable to do that. The law, those two laws, adults with incapacity and self-directed support, go a bit like that, and it doesn't quite meet. So if you are a financial guardian for someone, we cannot give you personally a payment for caring for your loved one. But there is that little piece in the legislation. So if you think that that part applies to you, then again, please get in contact with social work. We have a duty social worker, someone always available to answer the phone 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We have a generic inbox for those who like to email. Sometimes it's easier to email rather than trying to find a private space to make a call. It is just quite simply ASW for adult social work at orkney.gov.uk. Pop us an email. You can just give your phone number and say, please phone me back. We do have an emergency out of hours social work service, and that's across children's, adults, mental health, and that's from 5 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock in the morning, and all day Saturday and Sunday. That runs 365 days a year. That is for emergencies, because obviously we can't access a lot of services at 2 o'clock in the morning. However, if you find yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning and you just feel that you, in a way that you just can't go on anymore, and that your caring responsibilities are too much, please pick up the phone. Phone the Balfour Hospital on 888 and ask for the duty social worker, and you'll get put through. And just that listening ear for 10 minutes just may be enough to tide you over until we can get somebody out to you in the morning. I think I've already said all that, so I think I'm going on to Mandy. And then after Mandy, we've got a little video that explains direct payments in a bit more detail.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Hello, my name is Mandy Kipnis. I'm the Service Support Manager at Age Scotland Orkney. We provide here to help and here to care in the local community, as well as for dementia support work. But today I'm here to talk to you about what we do for this service, self-directed support. So we currently have over 50 employers that we help run their packages quite successfully. So if you have been awarded the option 1, you can choose to come to us. You don't have to, but you can come to us and we can help you. What happens is, you would tell your social worker, okay, I've been awarded option 1. I would quite like Age Scotland Orkney to help with that. They will pass your contact details to us, and then I'll give you a call or an email, whatever contact details you have left, and I'll come and visit you either at home or you can come and see us in our office in Victoria Street. Whatever suits you best, we'll do. Yeah. Then at that meeting we will talk you through the initial what is self-directed support and what you do and what we do. We may start doing initial kind of form filling as well at that point, just so we can start the ball rolling. We do lots of things within that service, but the kind of two main functions we have are our pay function. So in this, we will assist you to complete all the legal paperwork that needs to be done to ensure that tax, national insurance and pensions are paid for your employees. So that's a minefield to try and figure out a lot of that stuff on your own, so we're there to help with that. We'll also collate all your employees' timesheets, so you send them to us once a month. We process payroll, send you back pay slips, and then you would pay them from your SDS account. All this information is stored afterwards securely, and we keep it in case there's any pay queries or any audits that need to happen on the account in the future. We also have an HR function. So we'll assist you to complete a job role and an advert for either online or in the paper which suits your needs. So this is about you telling us what you want. We don't tell you what you need, you tell us what you want. When that advert's out, anyone that applies for that, we would hand over their contact details. We also have to now, since June last year, complete a Protecting Vulnerable Groups application. So the law changed in June, because prior to that, people that were employed through this scheme didn't need to have a PVG, but they do now. So we gather all information from the employee, send it all away, and we deal with all that for you. Again, that's not something that you have to do, we do it all for you. The reason why this needs to be done is because you're working with vulnerable people in their own home, so you have to be vetted to ensure you're allowed to do that. So it gives everyone a bit of peace of mind. As well as information and support for the employer, we also review the self-directed support to ensure it still meets the person's needs. Because people change over time, and it may be the employer themselves comes to say, look, things have changed, can you come and do a review? We'll do that. I will then contact Kathy and her team to say, look, there's been changes afoot, you maybe need to go and do another review with that person. So you're not alone in the self-directed support. We're always at the end of the phone. Yeah, we work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but we've got an email that some of us do look at with times, quite a lot. But we're always there to help. And it is a bit scary to think, oh, how am I going to manage this? But it is a wonderful way of you employing the people that you really want, and for them to come, like Kathy said, at the time that you want, to do the tasks that you want, makes such a difference. We now have a wee video.
When it comes to arranging and managing your social care support, you can decide how much control and responsibility you want to have. There are 4 options, designed to give you different levels of control and responsibility. You can choose which option is best for you. This video is about option 1, also known as a direct payment. Option 1 is where your council pays an agreed amount of money directly to you, and you purchase support and other things that will help you meet your outcomes. Your outcomes are the things you have agreed with your social worker that are important to you. Option 1 is the option with most control and flexibility. It is also the option where you have most responsibility and where you handle the money yourself. How does it work? As part of creating a support plan, you agree with your social worker the things you want support to help you with, and they will let you know how much budget the council will give you as a direct payment to pay for this support. You will be asked to sign a direct payment agreement. This is an agreement between you and the council. This says that you agree to manage the direct payment according to the council's rules. The council may pay the money into a separate bank account or onto a prepaid card scheme, like AllPay. You can choose how you want to receive the money. You can ask for the money to be paid in instalments, which means bit by bit, or in a lump sum. Your council should be able to explain to you how the payment will be made and when. You can use a direct payment in any way if it will provide the support you have agreed with your social worker. This could include employing personal assistants to support you, buying services from a social care support agency, buying services from a registered support provider, buying services from the council, paying for other services, for example an exercise class, and buying items that will help you meet your agreed outcomes. It is up to you to find the services, get in contact with them, and agree the arrangements. It is important that the services or support you buy will help you meet your personal outcomes. Personal outcomes are things that are important to you that you have agreed with your social worker, and that you need support to help you achieve. Is this option right for me? If you choose option 1, you will have lots of responsibilities, but there is also help available. Part of your responsibility is to show the council that you are using the money to meet your outcomes. You will need to keep records of what the money has been spent on. If you are employing personal assistants, you should also show that you are being a good employer and meeting the legal responsibilities of being an employer. You can ask for your direct payment to be paid to and managed by someone else, known as a third party. In this case, you should still have control, but you will not handle the money itself. The council will check that the third party understands their responsibilities. If you want to use a direct payment for some parts of your support, but not all of it, you can explore this by choosing option 4. You can read more about option 4 by clicking the link beneath this video. Independent support organisations and carers centres, if you are an unpaid carer, can help you learn more about this option and think about if it's right for you. You can search for a local organisation by clicking the link under this video. Who can use this option? Most people who are eligible for formal social care support through their council should be able to choose option 1. This includes adults, children, and young people. Up to the age of 16, a nominated adult manages the money, and people with any type of impairment or support need. The law says the council must offer you the opportunity to use option 1, unless your safety would be put at risk by being given money directly. You need long-term residential care or nursing care, or you have had option 1 in the past and it had to be stopped for some reason. Option 1 must also be offered to unpaid carers who are eligible for support in their own right. Where can I get help if I choose this option? Independent support organisations and carers centres, if you are an unpaid carer, can help you learn more about this option. Some independent support organisations can also help you manage the money, especially if you're going to employ people. You can search for a local organisation by clicking the link under this video. If you are considering employing personal assistants, PAs, you can find out more about what this involves and practical advice on dealing with different parts of the process in the PA Employer Handbook. Just follow the link below this video.
Thanks very much, ladies. I know that there'll be questions for people, but there will be staff up in the marketplace up there for you to go and ask any questions you have. Now we're running about 5 minutes late, so lunch will be there, but we'll just run over about 5 minutes, I think. I hope that's okay with you all, because you will want to hear what Barbara's going to say now. So Barbara's come in, Barbara Brown from the Citizens Advice Bureau. So here she is. Thanks very much.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
There we are.
Okay. Hi folks, so my name's Barbara. I work for the Citizens Advice Bureau here in Kirkwall. And really, I suppose our message today is that we are here to help. That is literally our purpose. That's why we turn up every day, is to see what we can do for folk. I'm hoping you've all heard of us. Hoping this isn't a big surprise to anyone, but we are a local charity here in Orkney.
We can provide support and advice to anyone who lives in Orkney. That is our only criteria. If you live here, you can be one of our clients. Everything we do is free of charge. We keep everything confidential, and we are an independent service and impartial. That means we don't work for the council, we don't work for the government, we actually work for you, for the people of Orkney, and try to help you. I think a lot of folk think that citizens' advice is this huge national thing, but like a lot of the other charities in Orkney, we're a member of Citizens Advice Scotland, so there can be a member kind of organisation for charities, but we are actually run locally for the local folk. We have our own board of directors. There is no head office, sooth, if you know what I mean. We just have to meet their standards and we get to use their logos, but it is entirely run for what Orkney needs us to do. So, what do we do? Loads of things. I'm going to ping them all up because otherwise I forget about them. So, the first two only are the biggest things I think that we're known for doing is financial stuff. So we do our benefits advice service and our debt advice service. Between the two of them, that's more than 3/4 of our workload. So I think that's why we're quite famous for it. But don't forget, we do loads of other things as well. And carers, like anyone else, will be impacted by a lot of the other services that we provide. So it doesn't just have to be about money. But since they are the most popular services, that tends to be what we talk about. Benefits advice is, I think, my baby. That's how I started at the Bureau. I was a benefits advisor. I love it. I could talk about it all day, but you'll all want lunch. But basically, it's a very complicated system, and I'm going to touch on some of the carer-related benefits today. But we're here to do it for you. A benefits check is free. It really doesn't take that much time for us to do it, and it's worth getting done. If you're not entitled to anything, you're no worse off than before you come in. You've just had to put up with us for about half an hour asking me questions, and we're not that bad, honestly. Debt advice is the other thing that we do. We have a fantastic team of trained money advisors, and they'll help you deal with any debts that are worrying you. And again, it's free. And I think the big thing to emphasise about our debt advice is nobody is going to sit down with you and act like your mum disapproving about what you did with your pocket money. That is not what we do at CAB. We don't tell you what to do. We sit down, we look at what money you've got coming in, we try and make it bigger if we can, that's always the aim, and we look at what the debts are, and then we discuss how you want to deal with those, and we do what you want to do. And sometimes it's enough for folk to have that chat and go off and do it themselves. Other folk need more support, and we'll help, we'll contact the people that are chasing you for money, we'll do all of that. But we're not going to judge you and tell you what to do with your money. So there's no shame in coming in for that service. We also don't talk about you afterwards, so nobody knows anyway. Another big area of our service is the patient advice and support service. That's a national service actually, but there is a national helpline for it. There's a web chat, there's an email thing. It's amazing, Scotland-wide that service. But we have our own local person. And she's in the office in Orkney, and she'll meet you face to face. And she'll help you with any concerns that you've got about the NHS, any treatment, either for you or the person that you're caring for. She can chat that through with you, and she can help people make complaints if that's necessary. We know that's a really stressful thing to go through, so it is worth coming in and having a chat with Caroline. And even if you decide not to take it further, it can sometimes help. So that service is there too. Money Matters, I've got in there, that's a joint project we've been running with the law and Orkney Food Bank for folk who are in crisis and facing food insecurity. And it just meant we could provide much quicker crisis help for folk under that. We also have our in-court advice service. We've got an advisor who can actually go to court and represent folk, mainly if they're at risk of losing their home due to repossession. But he can also give some guidance on like small claims, as it's known, or simple procedure is the correct name for it in court. So he's there. And then we have everything else that I just clump under generalist. That's like your consumer advice, employment issues, relationship breakdown, can have a whole range of queries around access to kids, rights to housing, child maintenance, all of these things. And that is mainly done by our brilliant volunteers. We can't survive without them. So that's a real whistle-stop tour of what we do. But if you have something specific and you don't know if we do it, give us a shout, we'll tell you, because we're okay with that. And if we don't do it, we probably know who does. But as this is the Carers Conference, I thought I would give some information about carers' benefits. I'll put that bit up. Carers' benefits are really complicated. I'm just going to say that up front. I had to put loads on this slide. Basically, there is a payment called a carer support payment. It comes from the Scottish Government now. Used to be carers allowance, but now it's called carer support. To get that payment, you have to be providing at least 35 hours unpaid care per week. You also cannot earn more than £196 a week from employment or self-employment. Person you're caring for has to be on a relevant benefit themselves. It overlaps with your state pension, so if you're claiming your state pension, you probably can't get this. You can claim it, they just won't pay you. That's a whole other thing we can get onto, because if you claim it, even if they don't pay you, sometimes it can help you qualify for other benefits, like council tax reduction, pension credit, these kinds of things. It could impact on the money the person you're caring for is getting, depending on their situation. Have I confused the heck out of everyone? I hope so, because actually I think what I'm sort of trying to say is we can help with this. This is a minefield. It is really complicated. It's not as easy as going, I'm a carer, I'll just claim this. There's a whole host of things. There is, as well as ourselves, Social Security Scotland have local staff in Orkney who can help you make a claim for this. But they'll just do this bit. They don't do the benefit check for all the other bits. So it can still be worth seeing us, even if you're already claiming this with our help. And for all of this complication and your 35 hours of care a week, you get £83.30 a week if you're paid carer support payment. That's how much it is. So it's not just a princely sum. Like I said, I could train you on this, but we'll still be here at 4 o'clock, so I won't. There is also a carer's allowance supplement that is there. That is paid twice a year to people who are getting payments of carer support payment. The idea of this was to top it up, because it is only about £83 a week, and job seekers were getting more on their benefits. It didn't make sense. So the Scottish Government said, we'll top it up, and we'll make it the same as other people on benefits are getting. So they do this by giving you 2 payments a year. The first one this year happened back in June, and to get the June payment, you had to be on benefit on the 14th of April. The next one is due in December, and to get it, you would be having to get the benefit on the 13th of October. It's complicated, isn't it? I can see people just going, what is she on about? But that money is available. So again, that makes it worth claiming the carer support one for a lot of people, because this actually adds up to quite a lot each year, because it's £293.50 twice. So that's worth it in the year. That's nearly £600 extra. We won't forget our young carers. They can also get a young carers grant that's available to them. They have to be between 16 and 18. It's not available for the young ones. They have to be doing 16 hours a week of care, so it's a bit nice. But they cannot be claiming carer support payment if they want the young carer grant. It's for the ones who are not claiming it. And they will get £390.25. And that's a yearly thing as well. So I know Crossroads will already be helping young carers with these things. But again, that's why it's worth coming forward for the help, because folk know about these and they're not too easy to navigate yourself. Now, I spoke about having to be on a relevant benefit the person you're caring for so that you can claim a carer support payment. The relevant benefits are now these ones. They've all changed names. In benefits, we like to change the names of everything every 2 years, just in case anyone was comfortable with what was happening. So we have child disability payment, which used to be disability living allowance. We have adult disability payment that used to be personal independence payment, and before that was disability living allowance. 3 changes there. And we have the pension, each one that has replaced attendance allowance as well. These are all Scottish benefits, so the system's different in England. But these benefits are all very much like the ones that came before. There hasn't really been a change in the criteria. We've changed the name, we've changed what form and who pays you. The actual criteria is the same. So the forms for these, anyone ever filled one out? Horrible, horrible, horrible forms. I think we're at 100 pages for the pension age disability payment form. Hideous, don't fill them out, just don't. That's my advice. We'll fill them out, or Social Security Scotland will fill them out for you. They've got their local team. Let us do it, because you've got enough on your plate. We do have a waiting list to come and see us, so it's often quicker to get Social Security Scotland to go and fill out the forms with you. But just phone us if you're not sure. We'll tell you. So, if you want support from us, we are open from 10 AM to 2 PM Monday to Friday. Our receptionists are in. We have an appointment system, so you do need to book. If you drop in to ask us, I mean, probably not going to be able to help you there and then. We try, but the diaries are quite booked up, and it means not doing something for someone else. So it is best to phone, but you can pop in to make an appointment. That's okay too, and they'll tell you if it is us that should be doing it. Our receptionists are fab, we love them. They'll do their best to get you slotted in when you need it. And you can just give them that phone, leave a message for them, they'll phone you back. But we also have the email, and I mainly answer those. So if anybody has any queries, please just take a note, it's on our leaflets too, and we'll do that. Now, when I say to make appointments, we will do those in the office, we'll do them over the phone, or we'll come up and see you. We're quite happy to do that. We do home visits. We also have scheduled visits to the Isles over the summer months that we go out. So we'll be really flexible, and we'll work with what suits you. And although reception's open 10 till 2, a lot of the advisors are 9 to 5. So if you need an afternoon appointment, we can do that. Right, I know you're all desperate for your lunch now. So, referrals for any agencies here. Ask me if you want a referral form. It's on our website if you want to use that. We will take referrals from anyone at all. But you can also just give us a ring. There is no need to be referred to us. You can just phone us and we'll make you that appointment. And clients can take anyone to our appointments for support that they want to. That's what we're there for. So if it would help you to have someone else in the room, please do. That's absolutely fine. Here we go. So our contact details are up on there. And hopefully that's grand. And I'll be able to stand if you have any questions, give me a shout. Thank you.
I'm sorry we've run over a bit, but it's actually only 12:23, so it's not as bad as it could have been. Thanks very much indeed. Lunch is now being served, and it's in the room that looks over the pool. So stay on this first level and walk that way and you'll come to it. And I hope you'll all be able to come back at, I'll just tell you, 1:15. 1:15 back here if you can. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.